This video is part 1 of my interview with Patrick Krueger. Subscribe, hit the like button, and follow this channel for more great content. Buy my books, links in the description below. Let's get into the video. I'm here with Patrick Krueger. He's the first guest on my new YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about global macroeconomic events impacting markets and impacting the financial industry. Let's get into it. How are you doing, Patrick?
Good. Yourself?
Quite good. Really excited to have you and excited for this interview.
Right.
Let's get into it. My first question for you is, we saw Blackstone default on a $562 million commercial mortgage-backed security backed by Nordic Properties. They also have another loan in special servicing in New York, backed by 10 or 11 New York properties. And at the same time, we saw them buy AIG's CLO business, and now I'm hearing they're making a bid for some assets of Silicon Valley Bank. What, from your perspective, what do you think about this with some of these big institutions clearly suffering in terms of their investments, but then also continuing to make large capital expenditures?
Well, I think that's one thing about banks is they do invest in things. That's generally their business model, especially the types that aren't custodian banks. Because custodian banks, that's not their business model. And I do think it seems like a lot of big institutions still think that they can somehow salvage the Silicon Valley Bank situation. It seems like something that I've been looking at, reading into. It seems like something I can recognize. I think part of it is that they are probably also trying to prevent a cascading effect from the Silicon Valley thing, because a lot of our economy and a lot of our system is based around perception, sometimes more than reality. And if they might try to be doing this to try to build confidence to prevent like a bank rush on Silicon Valley Bank that could be cascading out to other banks. That would be very disastrous for everyone.
And what about some of these more investment banks? Like we've seen Goldman Sachs has suffered quite a bit in their consumer business. They've laid off thousands of employees, but I'm hearing they're considering a leveraged buyout of Subway restaurants for $10 billion. They're currently bidding against Bain and Texas Pacific Group, and there might be more bidders that'll come in. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think this is more of a systemic thing, or do you think some of the damage is contained at a few of these idiosyncratic names like the Silicon Valleys and the Blackstones and the Goldmans of the world?
Well, yeah, I would definitely say that there's a lot going on. Now, we would like it to be something that's localized, and probably Silicon Valley Bank and especially these ones that do lots of venture capital, are going to be the first in the long line of dominoes to have some problems. But overall, I don't really see a good way you can shut down the economy and just run the money printer over time for 2 to 3 years and expect that to not have any long-term effects. And I think that there's a lot of stuff going on right now that is definitely related to that. I definitely think that with a lot of Silicon Valley, I think that this could or could not be related to what's going on to the bank, but I definitely think that there is a giant bubble when it comes to a lot of tech stuff. You can usually tell when there's a bubble when people are starting to get too greedy and they think that everyone's going to just sit there, get rich quick on Tesla stock, on whatever, venture capital, tech startups and stuff. And actually, I've gotten from some sources that Silicon Valley itself almost runs like a pyramid scheme, where most startups, their goal is not even really to create good products, and their goal is literally just to get bought out by some company like Google or Facebook. And many of the times, a lot of these sort of angel financiers, they even know this, and they don't necessarily care about building the best product. They just want to invest only a little bit of money and then kind of build a hype around some company and get it bought out by some company that's just so, there's so much money burning a hole in their pocket, like someplace like Google, Facebook, that, that, and a Silicon Valley Bank as one of these sort of venture capital interested kind of parties is probably been participating in this a little bit. And I think now the hens are coming to roost, and it's not working out very well, because if you're building a whole economy on hype, it's just destined to fail. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of tech stuff, especially because a lot of the people in that sector are very visionary. They think that, well, I'm going to change the world, and they have this kind of, it's very much so about like this mindset that's not really about good fundamentals. And I think that because a lot of people are kind of in that mindset, a lot of them get themselves in trouble.
Absolutely. It's surprising what's going on there. Switching over to the ESG world, one of the big developments in the ESG world is that the Vanguard Group, the second largest asset manager in the world by total assets under management, they've taken a firm stance to the opposite of the rest of Wall Street. They backed out of their ESG mandate. The CEO, Tim Buckley, affirmed his fiduciary duty to clients. They're coming out with research that says ESG investing has no benefit over broad-based indexed investing. From your perspective, how do you think this will affect the industry? Are we going to see some of the smaller firms follow Vanguard's lead? Or do you think this is more of a one-off event where this is just one firm?
I hope they give up on ESG investing. ESG investing has been a disaster. I think that for the most part, once again, it's talking about these ideals and not focusing on the fundamentals. The ESG scores are pretty much one of the biggest reasons that you see all these companies promoting very strange things, and kind of having these very polarizing political stances on things because they think they're going to get a better credit rating, and you bet lower interest rates for pushing an agenda. But nothing about pushing an agenda gives you better credit worthiness. It's just so obviously kind of a hoax, and it was something that was originally started to, once again, kind of start this fundamentals thing of this idealistic thing of, I want to go change the world, make it better, whatever, and I'm going to do it through capital and controlling capital. And fundamentally, though, if any business that has a fiduciary responsibility will eventually realize that actually, usually investing in the business that claims to care the most about carbon offsets and, social justice movements doesn't necessarily mean that they actually have a good product, that they're making good decisions. And if anything, I would argue that it shows that they put a lot of effort into things that aren't that. I mean, think about how many employees get hired at these sort of companies, like these sort of marketing people that really aren't adding value, but they take a salary and they post a lot of stuff on Twitter. And is it really generating any? I mean, I'm not seeing how, posting some stuff on Twitter about, Pride Month is making me want to buy another sandwich. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything like that to me. I don't care. So it's just showing that somebody and most people I know, including the progressive people that appeals to, they don't care. They're not sitting there thinking, I'm going to go figure out, calculate which business makes the most Twitter posts for whatever, social month it is. And then that's why I'm going for lunch every day of the week. Nobody's doing this. And when you really dig into it, it makes it seem like, well, there's full-time employees at these places that are taking a full-time salary. And some of them are high up executives, and their entire job is just to advertise in this way that doesn't generate any revenue, as that I can see. If anything, it generates negative revenue, because you could isolate a substantial part of your customer base. And I think that the ESG score is an excellent example of a failed experiment. And I think that that's what these other institutions seem to be recognizing, which is the same thing I'd be recognizing if I were in their position.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, leave a comment below, and please buy my books. The links to those will be in the description of this video.